Boy, I sure love working on my video game with no time constraints or anything.
Devlog day, sucker!
Hello everybody and welcome back to Noia Dev, the series that aims to prove that one developer can create a successful MMO RPG. My name is Dane, and this week on Noia Dev, we're talking about new weapons, new weapon skills, and something you guys have all been asking for, stat resets. Now, in the last devlog, I laid out 3 things that I needed to get done to finish off the Underworld map. I needed to finish the weapons and their skills, I needed a small map for a battle with the final boss, and a cutscene. And we are 2 for 3, baby! I spent the last week getting the map and the weapon and weapon skills done, got to about Sunday and took a look at what it took to get the last cutscene into the game and went, nope, that's a problem for future Dane, and then looked to see what else I could do in the meantime before this devlog had to be released. And in that time, a couple of different people all mentioned, hey, we need to be able to reset skills, and you're exactly right. So I got to work on this skill reset system. It wasn't too hard to implement, it only took me a day, and it's pretty easy to understand. As the player character levels up, they get stat points that they can then allocate to the stat of their choosing: strength, agility, intelligence, or wisdom. The more of these stats that they accumulate over time, the more costly it's going to be to reset them. As of right now, the price is only 1 gold per stat. So even if you guys did max out at level 50, which you can't yet, the price would still only be 50 gold, which is pretty easy to get right now. The price is only there to set the precedent that there will be a cost. I'm thinking that the final price will probably be around 20 gold per stat point, setting the final cost at a fully maxed out character at 1,000 gold per reset. Right now, our girl Sam here is the one that takes care of the stat reset functionality. I have a decent idea of the NPC that's going to be handling this in the future, what they're going to be all about, but that dives into the lore of Noia that we don't have time to get into right now. So moving on, let's talk about the loot that you guys are going to be able to get from the Underworld dungeon. Well, loot is the wrong term for it. It is a quest reward. As I've mentioned before, I didn't think that the players would want to grind out a level 5 dungeon for some mediocre loot that is just the best for level 5. So instead I made it a guaranteed reward for clearing the dungeon. You get the quest from Sam, as she is also the one who gave you the quest in order to get your first hairpiece, as well as your pants and shirt. The quest is pretty straightforward. Kill all 3 bosses in the Underworld Catacombs dungeon. Despite what Sam says that you need to get her some parts from these 3 bosses, it's just a simple kill quest. Maybe one day in the future when I can figure out how to drop individual players loot based on the quests that they have, I can make a quest loot sort of thing, but that's not today. Once the players kill all 3 bosses, they can then claim which weapon that they would like from the quest. The sword's weapon skill is what I'm calling Crystal Teeth. It is an AoE crystal spike explosion all around the player that does some pretty decent damage. The shield is a 50 point HP shield that the monsters will have to break through before they can actually harm the player itself. This was the first time that shields have been introduced to Noia. It's a new mechanic, and I'm looking forward to creating more shield-like abilities for shields in the future. The bow fires an arrow that pierces in a straight line, so any monsters behind your original target will also take equal amounts of damage. The wand casts a crystal spike that attacks the initial target first and then explodes for half damage to everything in a small radius around it. And the staff gives a 5-minute long buff that increases HP regen by 3 per second. Moving on to talk about the map that I had to create for the final confrontation of the Underworld. Originally, I wanted the final confrontation to take place inside the Queen's throne room. And then I looked at the tile set that I have and I realized I don't have throne room tiles. So I might have to go back to Clockwork Raven and get some extra stuff added to the Underworld tile set for me. So instead, the final confrontation takes place in the path to the throne room, is what I'm going to call it. And it does actually make sense if the Guardian of the Queen probably wouldn't let you directly into the Queen's throne room. There would be a conflict outside the Queen's throne room, so it makes sense. I had originally I commissioned the Halia, that is this character's name, from an artist on Fiverr, and they got pretty darn close to what I was looking for, but I ran out of revision requests and essentially had to finish it up myself. I'm a lot happier with this now. I feel like this is a sprite that should exist in Noia. With this, I now have a base that I can work on. Similarly to the Halia is the Queen of the Underworld. At the end of the fight with the Halia, the player will have a conversation with the Queen of the Underworld. Now, I've shown her sprite model here before. This was the original concept art. This is what we got back from Fiverr, and this is my addition to it. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to be adding more animations to the Halia and create an actual boss monster out of it, and then create the final cutscene for the Underworld where the player meets with the Queen of the Underworld. And that's it for this week. Hey, if you made it this far and you like what you're seeing, why don't you give a like, comment, and subscribe? It really does help grow the community, and nobody wants to play in an empty MMO. I gotta get back to work. I've got this cutscene and a boss to create, hopefully before the next devlog. So, we'll see you next time. Bye.